seem not to agree with the fact that there seems to be some crisis within your party which has dovetailed to what we have seen on the floor of the Senate. But let me ask you, some people will say again that there is some form of imposition, because that's exactly what some members of the Senate who do not agree with the party stand are saying, that there are some level of imposition, that the choice to determine who leads in the Senate or in the House of Representatives should be left to the members at the floor of the chambers. And this is exactly what some of them are saying. Does it not look like an imposition, which of course we know now that you perhaps are standing with the stand of the party?
Well, thank you very much. Let me start with all emphasis that Order 3, Rule 2 of the Senate Standing Orders 2011, as amended, provides for ranking of all the party's nominees for any principal offices and formation of delegations. The Senate has always, the Senate has always acted in tandem with its own standing orders, that in composing the principal officer positions, ranking of senators must be taken into consideration. But the truth has always been that the party nominates people into these positions. And don't forget one thing, that 35 senators of the APC extraction had met and had taken a position on this, that we want these 4 principal positions, and therefore we must fill these positions in line also with the standing orders of the Senate. And if you look at the names that were submitted by the party, these are senior members of the Senate. You look at Ahmed Lawan, who was submitted to be the leader of the Senate. Ahmed is the most ranking person, senator from the Northeast, and Senator Abu Ibrahim, who is who is supposed to be the deputy whip, is the most ranking senator from the Northwest, and Senator George Akume is the highest ranking member of the Senate from the North Central, and Professor Adeyeye, Senator Adeyeye from the Northwest, is also the highest ranking senator from that place. So we were also acting in tandem with Order 3, Rule 2. So it is not that there's anything strange about what has happened. We are guided by tradition, we're guided by precedent, and so there's no issue of imposition. There is nothing like imposition. If we talk of imposition, then it is the Senate President who is imposing his own supporters on the Senate and on the party. It has never been the tradition that the Senate President will start up and say, these are the people I want. It's never been done since I came into the Senate in 2007. The Senate President came into the Senate in 2011. So this is his first experience with the issue of principal officers in the Senate. There is nothing like imposition. I say we're 30-something, we're 35, 36, and we went to see the national chairman when on the 9th of June, something happened which was most unparliamentary, it was most unprecedented, when 51 senators were outside the chamber, and yet there was something that resembled an election that took place, and people were elected. You elect people, you elect someone to be our presiding officer, a very serious position, and you must also take note of one thing, that before you remove such a person, you require 2/3. And therefore, it was the responsibility of the clerk of the National Assembly to ensure that the roll call was complete and as many senators as possible were there. You cannot talk about 100% presence of the senators, but where 51 senators were left out in the court, then something fundamentally was wrong. And so the issue of imposition does not arise whatsoever.
All right.
The party...
Let me quickly come here, Senator Akume. I'm very sure that you have seen the response of the Senate President to the position of the party, where he talked about the fact that the letter that was communicated to the Senate President was received after the APC zonal caucuses are taking their decisions to nominate candidates as principal officers of the Senate, which of course he said that is in line with the Parliamentary Convention and the extant provisions of the Senate Standing Orders 2015 as amended. This was a follow-up to the prior APC Senate caucuses meeting held on the 23rd June 2015. That was the response of the Senate President after that incident happened. And again, a lot of people will say that with what has happened on the floor of the Senate in the past days, there should have been a greater lessons learned from what has happened when Senator Saraki emerged as the Senate President.
Well, let me state again emphatically that we don't have standing orders 2015 as amended. We'll have a procedure for amending the rules of the Senate. To the best of our knowledge, nothing like this came to the floor for approval, and therefore we are still guided by 2011 standing orders. What the Senate President is quoting from is a fraudulent document, and we're challenging that in court. It's a fraudulent document, and he should never have even attempted to quote from that document. We totally reject that document. That's number one. Number two, what the Senate President is quoting is completely out of context. I get back to Order 3, Rule 2, ranking of senators. It is important. That's number two. The ranking of senators should be taken into consideration when you are composing leadership positions in the Senate. He knows this very well. Then number three, you talk about the fact that it came late. What? It never came late. This matter, the letter was written to the Senate President by the national chairman of our party. That's number one. He received the letter, and remember, when he refused to read this letter on the floor of the Senate, he was challenged by Senator Ashafa of Lagos that there was a communication. He rose under what? Privileges. And he said there was a communication from the national chairman of the party, not from a local government chapter of the party, from the national chairman of our party, to the effect that the following positions have been filled as followed, and the names followed. And so I want you to listen to this.
Just
now,
a moment.
He got the letter. He refused. He refused to read this letter, and he overruled Ashafa, which was wrong. Let me say this. The principal officer, the presiding officer, has the authority to overrule. But behind this overruling, there is the presumption of correctness, fairness, and impartiality on the part of the presiding officer respecting interpretation of the rules. He never followed this whatsoever. And therefore, it is wrong to say that this is against this. He got the letter on time. And when he was talking about caucuses, there's nothing like caucuses in the Constitution. There's nothing like caucuses in our own this respecting feeling of position. He knows this very well. So what he was quoting is totally out of tandem with the provisions of extant rules of our party, out of this with the extant rules of the Senate. And therefore,
Senator Akume, just a moment. Let me quickly ask you this.
He's wrong, and he was doing the wrong thing. He knows he's wrong. So the issue of this thing coming before that is not correct. And with due respect, I respect him. He's my friend, he's my brother. But this is an official issue. And now that he's the Senate President, he must also watch his language. Let's be careful in the application of language here and the content of what we're dishing out to Nigerian people. Because what he says is also what? A reflection of what the Nigerian people think about the Senate.
All right. Just a moment. Senator Akume, we would like to go on a short break but so that we can continue with the conversation. But we need to go on a break. And when we come back, you'll be telling us about the implications of the adjournment of the Senate for another month. That's right after now. Stay with us.